verses 24 to 31 is where we're going to be today. We've been going through Matthew 10. Jesus here getting the disciples ready to go. He had called them at the beginning of the chapter. We went over the disciples and talked about that. And then he began telling them what he wanted them to do. He was going to send them out primarily to Israel at the beginning, but now he's also talking about ultimately what's going to happen to everyone who ultimately follows him, every believer, and he's talking about what discipleship costs. And he's telling us the truth. It's interesting, we live in a day and time where people like to make all the pictures rosy, and they don't want to tell you the truth. And Jesus never, ever went away from the truth. And part of the truth is the reality of what we're going to face if we're going to be real believers and follow him. So if you're in Matthew 10 with me, come on down in verse 24, and again, he says, the disciple. Again, he's talking, and a disciple simply means someone who's a learner, a follower. Okay, right? And he says, the disciple is not above his teacher, nor the servant above his Lord. Jesus simply saying, look, I'm the Lord, you're the servant, which of course involves what? Submission if you're a servant, okay? And also if you're a learner, you're learning and you're submissive to what the Lord wants you to do. Now one of the great things, I don't know if you've ever had the joy to do this, because I'm old, I've had the joy of raising some kids, and Steve, especially my son, I had the joy of teaching him a couple of things. All right, one, we used to play one-on-one basketball. And we'd get out in the driveway and just play one-on-one basketball, and I beat him. You see, you beat him? I beat him. I beat him every time we played. Until came that fateful day. He beat me. And finally got done, and he beat me fair and square. And I said, how'd you do it? He said, I quit listening to you. Because you see, when I play, I talk. And I do anything to distract you. And I distract him and distract him. He has a friend of his came by, and he said, he was challenging me to go one-on-one. He said, look, if you play with my dad, you can't listen to him. And he's looking at him, he says, what? He says, he's going to talk to you. Don't listen to him. Well, his friend didn't pay attention. All right, and I talked to him. Of course, he couldn't hit nothing. But Steve learned. So, I accomplished a great goal. Taught him how to play basketball. Now he's better than me. He's as good or better than his teacher. Another way, I taught him how to play chess. You say, did you let him win? No, didn't let him win. He lost and lost and lost and lost and lost until one day he beat me. And then he beat me again. And then it was going the opposite direction because he was really getting to be a good chess player, and he's better than I am now. All right? Nothing makes a teacher feel better than when the student surpasses them. That means you've done a good job teaching, okay? Jesus says, look, he says, I'm the teacher, you're the disciple, I'm the Lord, you're the servant. He said, all I want you to do is what? Learn, all right? So he goes to verse 25, he opens up a little bit further. He said, it is enough for the disciple that he like his teacher. There you go. And the servant like his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them in his household? So now Jesus goes from not just being disciple and teacher and master and servant, now he becomes father and family. If we're in his family, we have certain things that should identify us. Sure? You have everybody, I don't know about you, I'm really bad, like when she was born, when Ruby was born, did people come up to you and say, oh, she's got your nose, and oh, she's got your eyes, and oh, she's got your toes, all this kind of stuff. And I'll go, or she looks just like her grandfather, all these things of you. I was never any good at that. All these years, one of the great things I had to do is, from a pastoral standpoint, I always made hospital calls, and I always got to see the new moms and the babies. And inevitably, I'd get home, and my wife would say, who's the baby look like? I said, the baby looks like the baby. All right, because I don't know what she looks like, okay? But there are some kids that are the spitting image of their fathers or mothers, aren't they? I mean, some of you go, whoa, just looks like a clone, right? Looks just like a clone. Why? They're part of the family. I remember years ago, I took my mother to Kentucky for a funeral. A good friend of ours had died, and I really didn't. I knew the girl that died, of course, and I knew her husband. But other than that, I didn't know a lot of the people at the funeral home. And you're all going to find this hard to believe. I would just kind of stand over against the wall, not really doing anything, because I really didn't know anybody. And this old guy comes by, and he comes by, and he looks at me, and he just walks by, and he stops. And And he comes back by, and he does one of these things. He goes, and I'm looking at him, and he goes, "You Glenn Sparks' boy?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "You the oldest one?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "Thought so." And turned around and walked off. I still don't know. But apparently I'm looking up like my dad for him to go, why? Family resemblance, right? So Jesus here, and this is important. If we're in the family of God, if you're born again into the family of God, isn't it interesting that Jesus used that phrase? You're born into families. Well, when you're born again, you're born into the family of God. We're supposed to have characteristics of the family, all right? And he's telling us here, you notice he says, if they call the Father Beelzebub. Now, Beelzebub's an interesting little name.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I was getting to that. Yeah, it's an interesting little thing. Beelzebub is an old Canaanite deity from Canaan there, and the Jews, of course, didn't like it. The original meaning for Beelzebub was the Lord of the Flies. Later, it got changed around a little bit to it became a little different. But the key thing with Beelzebub is that the Jews ultimately made it another name for Satan. So Jesus said, if they call me Satan, guess what they're going to call you? Satan. And he's already been called Satan because he was called that back in chapter 9. All right? So if they're going to call you Beelzebub, he says they're going to, in other words, family name, right? If the family name is bad, you're going to be identified with the family. Okay? So Jesus here is simply saying, look, you're a learner from the teacher, you're a servant to the Lord, and you're part of the family of God. You need, one of the things I used to tell my kids when they went out, remember,
don't be the one.
I said, no, remember who your dad is. Remember who you are. Because I didn't want them to be acting like somebody that they shouldn't be. And I want them to remember that Dad was there. All right? And God says the same thing to us. He wants us to remember that He's there. And sometimes I think we forget that He's there, don't we? I mean, we just go out in our life and we just forget all about the Lord. And that's part of our problem. Because when we do that, then we start acting in all sorts of bad ways because we forget that Jesus is there, right? And so it's something that we've got to understand. The Holy Spirit of God is living within you if you've accepted Christ as your Savior. And if He's living within you, guess what? He's going with you everywhere you go. Hears everything you hear, sees everything you see, does everything He does. Whoa. Always one of the great fun things I got to ask people. I said, well, tell me, would Jesus like that? And people go, no. Well, guess what? He didn't like it, but He was there. You know, and yeah. That's what we got to remember. So Jesus said, if they call me that, they're going to call you that because you're identified with me, right? So it's extremely important for us to understand what He's talking about here, and it's extremely important that He's getting to is because He says they're going to do that to you even more than they do it to me. In John 15, He said the same thing. He says if they've done it to me as the Master, if they've done it to me as your Lord, they're going to do it to you. So it's coming. All right. What did they do to Jesus? Did they always treat Him well?
No.
They treated Him with respect?
No.
No. They did all sorts of things, give Him all sorts of grief. Probably what they do? They crucified Him. So can we expect anything less?
No.
No. Whoa. So people have to understand when you sign up for this, when you decide you want to become part of the family, guess what? Life will get complicated and get difficult. Okay? So he goes on. This is very important. In verse 26, he gives us this little phrase, fear them not. You see this? He's going to say this 3 times. Fear them not. He's going to talk about fear not. He says it in verse 26, he says it in verse 28, and then he says it again down in verse 31. Fear not. Now, why would Jesus say fear not 3 times? Because people are afraid. Okay? Now, fear is a real interesting thing. Do you know fear is contagious?
Mm-hmm.
It's super contagious. All you got to do is have somebody get scared, and everybody gets scared. If somebody's fearful, everybody get fearful. Years ago, when I was in youth work, we used to work with some youth groups, and they did this really, really cool thing. And we took it was around Halloween, you know, and they had these kids going through this spooky forest thing, you know, and they're wandering around and they're going through all this thing, and they brought them back into the back end of a gymnasium because they were going to sit them down and talk to them a little bit. And as they walked in, there was a guy in a casket.
Oh.
I mean, he's laying in this casket. Okay, I mean, and you could tell this is not a fake, this is not dummy. This is a real person. laying in this casket. You can't tell he's breathing. You can't tell nothing. He looks dead. They put makeup on him. He was real pale. I mean, he looks, and these kids go by and they've been outside hollering, yelling. All of a sudden, and they're just dead quiet. So, and there must have been, I don't know, 1,000 kids in this gym. They're all sitting around on the floor. And these guys start telling spooky stories and scary stories and all that kind of stuff. And along about the middle of it, this guy comes out of this casket. When he came out of the casket, the folks up front screamed and jumped. As soon as the folks up front screamed and jumped, guess what all the rest of them did? They all screamed and jumped. All right, why? Because fear is contagious. I don't know if you remember the story. Remember Gideon in the Old Testament? He was getting ready to take on the Midianites. And the Midianites had like 30,000 guys in their army. And God said, Midian, he told Gideon, get an army together. And Gideon came up with 10,000, and he was really happy. He thought 10,000, he was doing really, really good. And God said this, he says, Gideon, that's too many. He says, tell everybody who's scared to go home. And a whole mess of them left. He ultimately worked the crowd down to 300, and that was enough for God to defeat this army. But the key thing was, he told everybody, first thing he said, tell everybody who's scared to go home. Why? Because fear is contagious. So if you're afraid, somebody else is going to be afraid, because fear just spreads. That's why it's so important. I beat this into Steve, and I beat it into Melissa, trying to beat it into our grandkids. This is a simple truth. You can't panic. You can't panic. Why? When people panic, they are afraid. All right? And you can't panic no matter what you do. All right? No matter what the situation is, somebody's got to keep somebody has a problem with this. All right? So panic is a problem. All right? A few years ago, Steve was on back when he was in high school, he was on a high adventure trip. And while he was on this high adventure trip, they were doing rappelling off the sides of the mountains down in West Virginia. And then he was on a whitewater rafting trip. And the water was so bad, and the waves were so bad on this thing, that he and the guide bounced out of the raft. So when the guide bounces out, you know it's a problem, okay? And then Steve's going down the river, and he's telling me about this later. He got hung up on some rocks and was trying not to drown because the water's just rushing over him. And he's hung up on these rocks, and he can't go anywhere, and he can't get off the rocks, and he's just stuck. And it took him a while to get to him. So he's telling me all this, and I said, well, man, what were you thinking while all this going on? He said, oh, that was easy, Dad. I says, all I heard was, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. And I said, so did you? He goes, no, I didn't panic. I said, well, then it worked. All right, so we got to teach people. Now, Jesus here says, don't be afraid 3 times in these short little verses. These 3 times are just part of the times that the Bible says, fear not. It actually says, don't be afraid 365 times. 1 for each day. Don't be afraid. Okay? And we tend to get what? Afraid. Well, let's see what. It's just who we are, all right? So verse 26 here, he says, fear them not. Therefore there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hidden that shall not be known. He says, don't be afraid of these people who are persecuting you. Don't be afraid of these people who disagree with you. Don't be afraid. He says, because in the end, it's all coming out in the open. We're going to find out exactly who they are. We're going to know who they are. We're going to know what they mean. And Jesus simply says, nothing's covered that shall not be revealed, and hidden that shall not be known. Ultimately, everybody's life is going to be known. One of the when we're going through Revelation, I don't know if you remember there, we talked about the Great White Throne Judgment. People are going to stand before the Great White Throne Judgment who don't know Christ, and their whole life's going to be reviewed. Can you imagine your whole life? Let's just do it. Let's do it in the 21st century. Yeah, like on a movie screen, with God doing bullet points along your life, saying sin, 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 something like that. And then and everybody can watch this.
Hunger Games.
Yeah, the worse than the hunger. Well, yeah, similar to it, but worse than that. Okay. So the thing is, nobody wants that, but Jesus says, look. All these people are persecuting you, all these people are putting you down, all these people who are evil and mean, he says, all that stuff is going to be, it's going to be put in the light, it's going to be revealed. Don't forget that, okay? Yeah.
Where it says that dumb animals will speak out against you, is that the right throne of judgment?
You're in trouble, sir.
Not there, but it's
even a dumb brute. She thinks that they're going to speak in heaven. I
have no record that there's going to be a lot of animals in heaven. which makes people go, oh no, there's got to be lots of dogs and cats there, but if there are, I'm not going to be in heaven. So I don't know. Okay, so we have a problem. I'm gonna be in a different section than heaven than a lot of people because I'm not gonna put up with dogs. Okay, so it's just the way it is. So you have to understand that. All right. Verse 20. He goes on to verse 27. He says, "What I tell you in darkness, then speak in the light. What you hear in your ear, that proclaim upon the housetops." So Jesus says, the things you learn with me while we're sitting around here, maybe around the campfire, and we're talking in the night. He says, you're going to tell these things. And when he talks about when you hear things in your ear, it was typical of the rabbis when they were teaching in their schools. They would come by, and there's a teaching tool that they used. They would whisper in the ear of the student and have the student speak out loud what they were hearing. And you say, well, that's a real easy thing to do. Oh, you think so? You have to really concentrate on what that guy's saying. Because it's real easy. Have you all ever had somebody tell you something that you told somebody else?
Yep.
The translation? All right, translation breaks down. Yeah, those telephone games and all that kind of stuff, all that stuff that you do. Well, that was one of their teaching methods. I'm going to whisper it in your ear, now you're going to tell the whole class. So you better listen and learn, right? Better listen and learn. So it's really, really, and what's happened to us in regard to this, what's happened over time is people develop their own teaching things, and they develop their own doctrine, and they developed all this stuff, and they're not listening to what Jesus has taught them in their ear. They're not paying attention to the Word of God. So they're teaching all sorts of weird and strange stuff, okay? He says, it's all coming out, okay? He says, so don't be afraid. No matter what happens to you, don't be afraid. Then verse 28, here we have the second one. He says, and fear not them who kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. But rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Now, isn't it? It's God puts this within us to preserve ourselves. But what he's simply saying is, he says, if your body comes into quiet play, if you're threatened with death, don't worry about that. But you see, our problem is this: we worry about that because we want to stay as much alive as we possibly can. But sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself for the truth. Right? And it's tough sometimes. But he says, look, he says, you and I have to be willing to what? We've got to be willing to die, because what's waiting for us? Heaven. We got to realize that we can't forget that. What's waiting for us when we're gone? All right? It's hard to get across. I've done, I don't know, thousands of funerals. And one of the things I try to convey to people, believers I know that have died, I said, I know you're all grieving, and the scripture says we're going to grieve, but you have to understand your loved one's having a party. And they look at me like I'm crazy. But you see, we have trouble thinking about heaven in the face of death. It's a hard thing. And I understand that. But it's true. So, Lindsay, one of these days, your old grandpa's going to be laying in a casket, right? Yeah. Okay. You can cry if you want to, but I'd much rather you laugh with me. I'd much rather you come by and just smile, and people say, what are you smiling about? And say, he's having a party. All right, he's having a party. And if you want to say anything about me, just say he enjoyed the trip. Okay, that's all I did. All right, because what? Because I was tuned into something that was greater than me. And I was happy about that. All right? My only issue with dying is I just want to bring as many people as I can. That's the whole issue. Okay? And the whole issue of my funeral would be to tell people about Jesus one more time. That'd be the whole thing. Okay? And so he says, and the devil, he'd kill your body. He'd kill your body, but he can't do anything about your soul. He said, but God can take care of your body and your soul. He said, you don't want to make God mad. Make the devil mad. It's okay. His power is limited and God isn't. I heard it's an interesting thing, because it's really hard when he starts talking about us saying these things. The devil will put some people in jail. He'll hang some people. He'll burn some people at stake. There was a great preacher in England back during Henry VIII's time. His name is Hugh Latimer. And I like this. I read this. I thought it was cool. Latimer was getting ready to speak. He was getting ready to preach with King Henry VIII there. And he says, this is what went through my mind. He said, I was standing there before I got started, and he said, I'm thinking, Latimer, be careful what you say. The king is here. He said, then I thought, Latimer, be careful what you don't say. The King of Kings is here. And he said what he was supposed to say. And guess what? The King of Kings liked it. The king didn't like it. And Hugh Latimer ultimately was burned at the stake. Okay? All right? So are you willing to get burned at the stake? Hugh Latimer was. Why? I try to tell. I had somebody tell me this once, and this is just church stuff. But I had somebody say when I first went to Temperance, somebody said, "How are you going to make all these people happy?" And I started laughing. I said, "I have absolutely no intention of making these people happy." And they said, "What?" I said, "I play to an audience of one." I said, "If the Lord Jesus Christ is happy, I don't particularly care what you like." Isn't that true? You know, he's the boss. He's the king. I'm his servant. If he's happy, guess what? Everything is good. When my kids were growing up, they figured out something real fast. Didn't make any difference what they said at school. Made a difference what Dad said. And if you make Dad happy, guess what? He'll handle the school. But if Dad's happy, you got it going. All right? It's what you want. All right? And that's what I try to teach them. So here, Jesus is saying, don't be. He tells us, don't be afraid of what they're going to do. He said, don't be afraid of what they say, and don't be afraid of what they're going to do. Yeah, they might kill you. Okay. There's worse ways to get into heaven. True. You go in as a martyr. You go in for serving Christ. I think that's got to be a nice way to go in. But notice verse 29. He comes down to it. It sounds like it's off the subject, but it is. He says, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing?" A farthing was 1/16 of a daily wage. And the sparrows were used for a couple of reasons. They actually used in sacrifice. And they were actually used, you'll find this good to know, all of these wonderful ecologists out there. They used the sparrows, they roasted them, and they were an appetizer for dinner. Why? Well, they were cheap. They were cheap. Do you ever think about how many sparrows there are out there? I mean, yeah. There you go. And so here's, but I mean, there's millions of them. All right. Notice what it says. It's really important. He says, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father." He says, the Lord God Father knows every time a sparrow falls. Now, somebody, and I haven't yet to check this out, but I read this and I thought this was really interesting. That word that's translated when it falls, somebody said it's actually more accurately translated hops. And it's not just when a sparrow dies. He's telling us that God knows every time a sparrow hops. Do you know how many times a sparrow hops? And God's got it all counted out there, all right? And then he goes to verse 30. This is a famous verse. He says, "But the very hairs of your head are numbered." Now, and I read this, don't know how accurate it is. I thought it sounded interesting. It says that the average person has 140,000 hairs on their head. Lindsay, you have more. Okay? She has more, okay? I don't have as many, all right? We all know some bald guys who don't have any. So those bald guys, you got to realize 140,000 is an average. So you have to take the bald guys who don't have any up there. That means there's somebody out there running around with 280,000 hairs on their head. That's somebody, you all know some people who've got some real heads of hair, right? Right? Yeah, I mean, they're everywhere, And I remember when Kimmy was born, Kimmy had hair like crazy when she was born. You've seen some baby pictures, right? You didn't have as much hair as she did, but Kimmy had hair everywhere. And you're going, how does this little kid come up with all this hair? All right, but that's the way she was born. And so here's the thing is, and you say, why is God telling us he knows every time a sparrow falls or hops, and he knows every hair on our head? He's telling us, and this is the most precious part of this whole thing. Look what he tells us. Notice the very next thing he tells us. Verse 31, "Fear not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows." Isn't it good to know that you've got value? You're worth something, right? We're paid for with a price. Exactly right.
That's how personal our relationship is with him, though. I mean, as much as I love and know my wife, I can tell you how many hairs is on her head.
No, and it'd take you a long time to count them. All right, that's true. And what Jesus is telling us here, he says, don't be afraid of what they say about you. Don't be afraid of what they do to you. Don't be afraid, period. You have value. What a wonderful thing. We are bought with a price, the scripture says. True? Jesus died for us. If he died for us, he spent the most precious commodity there was, his own blood. As he did that, he says, I want you to understand you have value. I'll be done with this. Check this out. People today, and it was big, I know years ago, I don't know how much they emphasize it anymore. Courtney, you might know, you're in school. People still talk about self-esteem.
Yes.
Now, I want you to understand, self-esteem was never the issue. Okay? Self-esteem is not the issue. Self-worth is the issue. Do you feel like you're worth anything? Well, guess what? You're worth a whole lot because somebody died for you, right? Doesn't get any more valuable than that, right? And here's the thing we have to understand. The reason why we're saying, oh, they're getting sports and we need to give them all a trophy because of their self-esteem. It's terrible. It's terrible. Because then they don't understand what winning and losing is. And they're going to lose in life. They have to learn that. So it's good to learn it at a young age.
Several
But
times.
yeah, you get to learn it over and over and over again. But the thing is, our problem is they're concerned about how people feel about everything. The key is not about how you feel about everything. The key is how you feel about you. And do you have worth? A lot of us, one of the reasons why we don't think we have worth is because, well, other than Jesus, I don't know anybody who loves me that much. Now, one of the great things, Courtney, when you got married, this big guy here said that he's going to love you as much as Jesus loves you. How much did Jesus love you?
He died.
He died for you. So Mike's saying when he got married to you that he's willing to die for you, right? Still willing? So far, so good. Okay, so he's still on it.
Sign up for that.
You know, so you see, but they're still young and in love. You know, that's how this goes. You know, now Kenny, you and Lori, maybe this love thing, maybe not quite so good. All right, maybe you know, and then you guys, you know, it's like, of course, you know better. You know, you better be willing to die, or she gonna whoop you. So life changes along. But the thing is, if you know you have value, it changes everything about you, doesn't it? I'm loved. Oh, what a wonderful thing. I am loved. Why? Because everybody in the world loves me? No. I'm loved because Jesus loves me. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Can't beat that. And on top of that, I got a few other people who love me, which just makes me more lovable. All right? That's a wonderful thing. So what does Jesus tell us here? You're my disciple. You're going out there. Life ain't always going to be good. You might have to die for the cause. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't wander in fear. Don't walk around in fear. Don't do that. Why? Because you got value. Just remember, some of you will remember this and some of you won't. You'll never be a Kmart special. You're never going to be a blue light special at Kmart. You got more value than that. Isn't that a good thing to know? There's some people who don't know what a blue light special is at Kmart. Those of us who've been around do. All right? And we know what those are. You're never going to be there because you got more value than that. Isn't it a wonderful thing to know? Let's pray, shall we? Lord Jesus, we thank you for loving us. And Lord, we thank you for the joy of knowing that you love us more than we could ever love ourselves. Lord, may we indeed love as you have loved, and may we live as you have lived. Lord, may the world see Jesus in us. Lord, that we might give evidence of that. If there's anybody who's never met you, and they might be thinking right now, I don't know if I want to get into this because it might cost my life. Oh, Lord, help them to understand that heaven's forever, and this life is very short and very limited. Lord, I ask your blessing upon us now. Give us a great night. Use us this week that we might witness for you and share Christ with others. Lord, that others may come into the kingdom, that they might know what the real love of Jesus is all about. And I'm going to thank you and praise you for it now in Jesus' most precious name. Amen and amen. It's good stuff. I talk to, I make phone calls